The rain had been falling for nearly an hour when Keanu Reeves noticed the car. It was parked alone behind a quiet Los Angeles grocery store, far from the bright streets and expensive restaurants. The vehicle was old, dusty, and covered with tiny drops of water. Keanu might have driven past it, but something inside the car moved. He slowed down. Through the fogged windshield, he saw a man sitting in the driver's seat, wrapped in a thin blanket. Then Keanu recognized him. His heart stopped. Marcus? The man slowly lifted his head. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Marcus Hale had once been one of the most trusted stunt performers on Keanu's film sets. He had spent years falling from buildings, crashing cars, taking controlled hits, and performing dangerous movements so actors could stay safe. But now he was sitting inside an old car, using it as a home. Marcus stared at Keanu as if he were seeing a ghost. "You shouldn't be here," Marcus whispered. Keanu stepped closer to the window. "Neither should you." Marcus looked away. That answer told Keanu everything. Almost. Keanu opened the passenger door and sat down. The inside of the car was painfully small. A folded jacket was being used as a pillow. A plastic bag held a few cans of food. In the back seat were several old photographs. Keanu noticed one. It showed Marcus and Keanu standing together on a movie set years earlier, both smiling after a difficult stunt sequence. Keanu picked it up. "You kept this?" Marcus shrugged. "It's one of the few things I have left." Keanu looked at him carefully. "What happened?" Marcus gave a weak smile. "Life." But Keanu knew there was more. He had worked with Marcus long enough to recognize that smile. It was the kind people used when they were trying to hide pain. Then Marcus said something unexpected. "Don't give me money." Keanu paused. "I wasn't going to." Marcus looked surprised. "Then why are you here?" Keanu looked toward the rain-covered windshield. "Because I found someone I used to know." Marcus lowered his eyes. For the first time, his voice became unsteady. "I thought everyone forgot me." Keanu didn't answer immediately. Outside, headlights passed through the rain. Then Marcus reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a small envelope. He held it tightly. "There is something you need to know." Keanu watched him. "What is it?" Marcus shook his head. "Not tonight." "Why?" "Because if I tell you, you're going to try to fix it." Keanu quietly replied, "Maybe some things aren't meant to be fixed alone." Marcus looked at him, and for the first time that night, his eyes filled with tears. But before he could say anything else, a loud knock came from the driver's window. Marcus froze. A security guard stood outside. "Sir," the guard said, "you can't stay here overnight." Marcus immediately reached for the ignition. Keanu put a hand gently on his shoulder. "Don't," Marcus whispered. "Please, don't make this worse." Keanu looked at the guard, then back at Marcus. "I'm not going anywhere." The guard walked away. Marcus stared at Keanu in disbelief. "Why?" Keanu smiled sadly. "Because years ago, you stood between me and a dangerous stunt without thinking twice." Marcus shook his head. "That was my job," Keanu answered quietly. "Tonight, this is mine." But Marcus still refused to tell him the secret inside the envelope, and Keanu had no idea that the truth inside it would change everything. The next morning, the rain had stopped. Keanu returned to the parking lot with 2 coffees and a bag of breakfast. Marcus was still asleep. Keanu knocked softly on the window. Marcus woke suddenly and looked around. For a moment, fear crossed his face. Then he saw Keanu. "You came back?" "I said I would." Marcus opened the door. They sat together on the curb. Keanu handed him a coffee. Marcus stared at it. "You remembered." Keanu smiled. "2 sugars." Marcus laughed quietly. It was the first real laugh. Keanu had heard from him, but the moment didn't. Last Marcus suddenly became serious. "I need to tell you why I'm here." Keanu waited. Marcus took a deep breath. "After my last movie, I got injured." Keanu's expression changed. Marcus continued. "At first, doctors said I'd recover, but I couldn't work the same way anymore. No producers wanted a stuntman who couldn't perform." He looked at his hands. "I lost my apartment." Then came another blow. Marcus had spent years helping younger stunt performers learn the business. When he could no longer work, he became embarrassed to ask anyone for help. "So I disappeared," he said. Keanu asked, "Why didn't you call me?" Marcus looked directly at him. Because I knew you'd help, Keanu frowned. That doesn't make sense. It does to someone who has spent his whole life trying not to be a burden. Silence followed. Then Marcus opened the envelope inside with several photographs and a folded letter. Keanu read the first page. It was from a young stunt performer named Daniel. Daniel had been injured during training. Marcus had been paying for part of his recovery. Keanu looked up. You were helping him? Marcus nodded. I promised his mother I wouldn't let him give up. Keanu stared at the letter. You were living in your car while helping someone else? Marcus gave a small smile. I couldn't save everyone, but I could save one person. That sentence broke something inside Keanu. Then Marcus revealed the final part. He had been offered a small apartment by a charity, but he refused it. Why? Marcus hesitated. Because there was another family who needed it more. Keanu looked at him in disbelief. You gave away your place? Marcus nodded. I knew what it felt like to have nowhere to go. Keanu looked down. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Keanu asked the question Marcus had been avoiding. Where is Daniel now? Marcus smiled. He's learning to walk again. Keanu closed his eyes briefly, then his phone rang. It was someone from the production company. Keanu answered. Hello? The voice on the other end told him that a major film was preparing to begin production. They needed someone to help train the stunt team. Someone experienced. Someone patient. Someone who understood fear. Keanu looked at Marcus. Would you consider working again? Marcus shook his head. I can't do stunts anymore. I didn't ask you to perform them. Marcus stared at him. Keanu continued. They need someone to teach the younger performers how to survive. Them? Marcus's eyes filled with tears. You're serious? Very. But Marcus still hesitated. Don't know if I belong there anymore. Keanu leaned closer. Maybe. You don't need to be the person you were. Marcus looked at him. Maybe you just need to become the person you are now. For the first time in years, Marcus allowed himself to imagine a future, but Keanu wasn't finished. He had quietly made another decision, one Marcus would not discover until later. 3 weeks later, Marcus walked into a professional stunt training facility. He expected people to stare. Instead, a young performer approached him. Are you Marcus Hale? Marcus nodded. The young man smiled. My instructor told me about you. Marcus looked confused. What did he say? He said you taught people how to come home alive. Marcus didn't know what to say. He looked across the training floor. There were crash mats, safety harnesses, vehicles, and a dozen young performers, preparing for their first major productions. Marcus suddenly realized something. He wasn't there because Keanu had rescued him. He was there because someone had reminded him that his experience still had value. Weeks passed. Marcus became one of the most respected trainers at the facility. He taught performers that bravery wasn't about ignoring fear. It was about respecting it. One afternoon, Marcus received a letter. It was from Daniel. Daniel had taken his first independent steps. Marcus read the letter twice. Then he cried. Keanu happened to walk into the room. You okay? Marcus wiped his eyes. Yeah, Keanu smiled. That's not what your face says. Marcus handed him the letter. Keanu read it. Then something unexpected happened. Marcus pulled a small photograph from his pocket. It showed the old car. I kept it, he said. Keanu looked at him. Why? Marcus smiled. Because that's where I thought my life had ended. He paused, and now I realize it was only where one chapter ended. Keanu nodded. Then Marcus asked the question that had been bothering him. You paid for my apartment, didn't you? Keanu said nothing. Marcus laughed softly. I knew it. Keanu finally admitted it. I didn't buy you a mansion. I know. I found a small place, close to the training facility. Marcus looked down. And the job? Keanu smiled. That was earned. Marcus became emotional. You didn't have to do any of this. Keanu looked at him. Yes, I did. Why? Keanu took a breath. Because sometimes people don't need someone to save them. Marcus waited. They just need someone to remind them they're not finished. Marcus couldn't hold back his tears then. Keanu gave him one final envelope. Marcus opened it. Inside was a photograph from years ago. It showed the entire stunt team, standing together after a difficult production. On the back, Keanu had written, "We never stop being a team." Marcus pressed the photograph against his chest. Months later, Marcus used his new position to create a small mentorship program for young stunt performers who couldn't afford professional training. He called it the Second Chance Program, and he never forgot the nights inside that old car, because those nights taught him something money never could. Person's worth doesn't disappear. When their career ends, a difficult season doesn't mean the story is over. And sometimes the person who changes your life isn't the one who gives you money. It's the one who sits beside you in your darkest moment and says, "I'm not leaving." In this fictional story, Keanu didn't give Marcus his life back. He simply helped Marcus see that it was still his to rebuild, and perhaps that's the greatest kind of kindness. Not carrying someone forever, but helping them believe they can stand again.